everyone, and Happy New Year. Happy 2023 NASCAR season just about to start. My name is Dan. This is my son, Nick. This is season two. Season two. Whoever thought we'd make it this far, Nick?
I don't know. I'm excited to be back for season 2, though, and ready for the new NASCAR season.
Yes, so Nick is away at college. This is a way we started last year to enjoy the NASCAR season together. Last year, we didn't really get rolling until the playoffs came around, but I'm excited. We are recording this on Sunday, January the 29th. The Clash at the Coliseum is 1 week from today, so this is our preseason, our season preview. I'm looking forward to what this season holds.
I know a lot of it's up in the air. Like, are people still going to be good? Is there going to be new hot guys on new teams? Are the rookies going to be great? There's a lot that we could consider for this upcoming season.
That's right. So we've got a few things that we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of go driver by driver to an extent. Nick and I both have some power rankings that we want to share with you, and we're going to try to keep that up through the season. We don't need to spend a lot of time recapping what happened at the end of last season, but Joey Logano was crowned the champion. What'd you think about all that?
I mean, it is what it is. I didn't really enjoy the Phoenix race like I thought I was going to, and like Chase Elliott wrecking early, it was kind of just a dud to me. The Logano ending, not something that I really wanted to see.
And there was really not much suspense. I mean, Logano was clearly the car to beat on that track in that race, and that was it. Nick, do you think Joey has a chance to repeat this year?
I don't think so. I think he got lucky. He's a good driver. He had a fast car, but there's no way it's gonna happen for a third time.
So let's start with our rookie drivers. There are only going to be 2 rookies that are going to be full-time in the Cup Series. And it's not like they're brand new faces. Both of these guys had opportunities to drive in Cup last year. The first one is Noah Gragson. He is going to be driving for Legacy Motorsports, or Legacy Motor Club, which is now the name of Petty GMS. But he's going to be in the 42 car, which last season was Ty Dillon's car.
I like Noah Gragson, and it was good seeing him in the Cup Series. He's got a lot to prove with where he's at, and I'd like to see good things. I'm not super setting high expectations for him, though.
I think there will be a learning curve, even though he does have some experience. And I think it's a challenge on that race team. That 42 never really had any success last year. Okay, the other rookie coming in with much fanfare. He had a lot of races filling in for Kurt Busch last season, but he was the Xfinity champion, and he is not coming into a race team that's having to scratch and claw its way. He's coming in for Joe Gibbs. In fact, he's related to Joe Gibbs. It's Ty Gibbs, and he's going to be driving the 54 car. Now, this is Kyle Busch's race team. They've changed to the number 54 because that's kind of Ty's number, I guess. And we're going to unveil some of our rankings later, but Nick, you had him as your number 18 driver coming into the season. Is that still what you feel like?
I still feel like that. I like Ty Gibbs personally, and he did show some good. He showed some good movement in that car last season when he filled in for, I think it had to be at least 10 races. So I've got a little more hopeful with him, but still there's going to be a learning curve for week after week in his own car. But I'd like to see good things from him.
Let's talk about a few drivers that are in new situations. So they're not new to the Cup Series, but they're on a new team this year. We mentioned Ty Dillon already. He's going to be driving for Spire, the 77 car, full time. You know, that's even a step down from the 42, I think. Yeah. But he will be in the 77. He'll be teammates with Corey LaJoie. Do you think we'll see anything from that?
I don't know. I mean, he had a better chance at showing us something last season. I think he'll just be another guy in the back.
We've got Ryan Preece coming back to the Cup Series. He's going to be driving for Stuart Haas in the number 41 car, which was Cole Custer's. But now Ryan Preece is in there. I think Ryan Preece could have some success. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, Cole Custer's car. It's good to see him back. I mean, I didn't miss him greatly, but he's got another chance to show us something. So yeah.
Okay, and then perhaps the two drivers that have made the most news because of the new rides that they'll be in. Let's go to Tyler Reddick. Going to be, let's see. I'm still I still am associating number 8 with Tyler Reddick, but Tyler Reddick is going to be in the 45 for 2311, driving for Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, teammates with Bubba Wallace. I don't know. What do we have to expect from Tyler Reddick?
I don't know. There could be some good things with this. He really was heating up near the end of last season and in the playoffs especially. So if he's got a good car and him and Wallace can work together, I feel like it could be a good season for Reddick.
And then, of course, Kyle Busch is going to be driving the 8 car for Richard Childress. I think there's a couple of ways this can go. What are your thoughts on Kyle Busch?
I mean, my mindset, I'm not the biggest Kyle Busch fan, but I think this team change is exactly what he needed. Last season, he wasn't terrible, but he was having lots of unfortunate luck, lots of bad early finishes. I think that this new team setup could be great for Kyle Busch, and I could see him winning multiple races this season.
Yeah, you're right. He definitely had some bad circumstances. Some of them he brought on those himself. Some of those were things that were not in his control. I think the change of scenery will do him good. And I think there's the potential that, first year, him gelling with a new team, there might be some growing pains. But then again, there's always the chance that this is the Kyle Busch Remember Who I Am tour. For these rankings, these are going to be for the current time. So we're not making rankings saying who's going to be best at the end of the season. We're not saying who's going to be the order of the final finish in the point standings. We're saying, as of today, let's rank the best drivers. And we're not talking about specific to any certain race. We're just saying who's the best right now in this order. So for our top 20 drivers, Nick, you and we created our rankings separately from each other. Of my top 20, there are only 2 that you didn't have in your top 20, and vice versa. You had 2 in yours that I didn't have in mine. So let's talk about those guys first. Eric Almirola. 20 is really middle of the pack. If you're finishing 20th every week, you're not going to have a great season. With Almirola, there are some tracks that he stands out on. I believe that there's a chance he could win a race. I think he'll have some top 10s, maybe some top 5s. And, there's not a whole lot of great things to say, but I've got him 20th. You didn't have him in your top 20. Okay, so number 19 in my rankings is a driver that we were probably the farthest apart on because you had this guy as number 10, and that's Kevin Harvick. So I'm going to let you tell me why you've got Kevin Harvick so much higher than me.
I mean, Harvick, he did struggle through the first half of the season. He started getting better, and then once it was rounded around to playoffs, he sealed his spot. He performed well in the standings, and I think he was a good driver. Even when he was out of the playoffs, he was still finishing up there like top 10s. I think that he still has a good season left in him.
He has announced this is his final season, at least for Stewart-Haas Racing. Is that right?
Yeah.
He's going to have to start out better than he did last year.
Yeah.
Number 18 in my rankings is a guy that you had ranked number 17. This is AJ Allmendinger. Now, he has been full-time in Cup before. Last year, he was racing a part-time schedule, did pretty well in the races that he appeared. So now he is going to be running full-time in that number 16 car for Colleague, teammates with Justin Haley. How many wins would you pencil in Allmendinger for this season, Nick?
You know what? I'm going to say he wins 2. He's a veteran driver. I like seeing him in races, especially like the technical road courses, that kind of stuff. He's got skill in that. I think he could win 2.
Both road courses?
Yeah, both road courses.
For Nick, coming in at his number 20 currently was a guy that I had ranked as number 16, and that was the star of, what's the name of his show?
Life in the Fast Lane.
Yeah, Austin Dillon.
Yeah, our good friend Austin Dillon, right? Um, I
Yes.
think he's got potential. He sealed his spot in the playoffs, but also he had a good string of 20 plus finishes, even 30 plus. He's got potential, but still, he's gonna have to show some good growth this season.
I think that team has probably worked hard. We'll see if they can see some results coming out of it this year. Your number 19 is pretty far away from where I have him. Nick has Bubba Wallace ranked as 19. I've got him at number 12.
Hmm.
So Bubba Wallace, teammate of Tyler Reddick, coming off of he had one win last season. He had a few top fives. He also had some bumps in the road. I tend to think that he's going to have some more success this year. He might get 2 wins.
I don't know. I mean, same with Austin Dillon. He had his win. He had some good ones, but also there was a lot of blah with Bubba Wallace, a lot of just dud performances. I'm not super hopeful for this season for him. Now that he's got Reddick with him, if Reddick completely outshines him, there's going to be some sort of pressure
Mhm.
on him to perform better or get out because him and Reddick could make a good team. Reddick's a good
Yeah.
driver. I've got him ranked really well.
Well, interesting that you kind of made that Austin Dillon Bubba Wallace comparison because that's Tyler Reddick's last teammate to his current teammate. Nick, your number 18 was not in my top 20, and we talked about him already. That's Ty Gibbs.
I think I have a little more faith than you do. But I mean, I put him in my top 20, you didn't, but just I like he's not going to come out like a superstar, but I really think that he could progress well over this season. He had those good races last season. He's on a good team with good standing, good teammates. I think he can make stuff happen.
Yeah, he's not going to quite have the same learning curve that other rookies have had because he did get so much experience. Okay, let's jump back over to my list. Number 17 is a driver that you did not have in your top 20, and that is Christopher Buescher, driving once again the 17 car for RFK, teammate of Keselowski. This team really was looking bad for a good part
Yeah.
of last season. But Buescher started to come on toward the end, still had ups and downs. While he did not make the playoffs, he did win a playoff race. Remember, Nick, at the Bristol
Yeah.
night race?
I mean, like you said, the team, I just I don't think it's a good team. I do think he's a good driver, but just I don't see him succeeding well this season.
My feeling is that that team had to kind of take a step back in order to start moving forward again. And I think we started seeing that forward movement. We'll see if I'm right about that. If Buescher has any success in the early part of this year, and we'll watch Brad as well. Speaking of Brad, neither one of us had him in our top 20, though I think Nick, talking to you about it, you were close to having him in there.
He was on the edge, but I mean, if it's between him and Busher, I would put Busher.
Jumping back over to Nick's list at number 16, Nick, you had a driver, and this is a surprise here. Nick had ranked number 16, a driver that was not in my top 20. And frankly, maybe I should be ashamed that he wasn't. Nick, you've got 16th, Eric Jones.
Eric Jones, he's grown on me in all the talk that you had last season. There's stuff that I've started to believe, especially when he won in the playoffs. I like Eric Jones now. Maybe not as much as you, but I like him, and I want to see Eric Jones win. I'd love to see him in the playoffs.
I don't know that there's a more talented driver. He has done so much in what you would have to consider inferior equipment. And, like I said with these rankings, this is just as of now. I'm not saying that at the end of the season that
Yeah.
he's not going to be 16th or maybe even higher. But I am definitely pulling for Eric Jones and hope he does some good things this year. Hope he gets a win. I've got coming in at number 15, the first appearance in my top 20 by Hendrick Motorsports, a driver that you have ranked at 13. And can you guess who that is?
Alex Bowman. I mean, I think both of us would say the weakest Hendrick driver. Not saying he's a bad driver, but just that tier of talent, the weakest. And I can't really criticize any late season stuff because he only got to come back for the very end with his multiple week concussion protocols. He could show good stuff. I do consider him one of the luckiest drivers with his wins. All luck, no skill. But
Right.
I mean,
Who coined that phrase? Was that Kyle Busch?
I think Kyle Busch said that, all luck, no skill.
Yeah. And then there was something that Denny Hamlin said about him too. Uh,
Then he called him a hack,
the
right?
hack. Yeah, the hack, according to Denny.
So
I'm sure he's hoping for a bounce back season this year. He did make the playoffs. All right, Nick, for your list at number 15, you've got a driver that's going to be in his second full-time season in the Cup Series. You have ranked at number 15, Austin Cindric. I have him at number 13.
still in the teen range. You know I love Austin Cindric. Still a good first season. Let's hope he continues that growth because he did do really. I mean, he came out and won the Daytona immediately. That'd be
Yes.
crazy if he could pull that off again. But just he's a good driver, not top tier yet, but he's got the skill to win races and get top 5, top 10s.
I think he'll win at least one this year, maybe more. For a rookie season, by all accounts, it was a success for Austin
Yeah,
Cindric.
for
Do you
sure.
think that this season, 2023, he can be considered more successful than last season?
I think so. I don't think he'll win the Daytona, but like you said, I could see him winning a race, especially like a road course.
So that brings us to number 14. And Nick, you and I both had this driver ranked at number 14 in our rankings coming into the season. And that is driving for Stewart-Haas Racing, locked up with them for a few years, Chase Briscoe.
Chase Briscoe. I mean, last season I always considered him like the dud of the playoffs. Like, there's no way he's going to keep going after just the first round, and he did, and then he kept going.
He was
And I,
surviving.
yeah, he was a survivor, and I gotta give him credit for it. And I mean, he's proved himself out there. If he can keep going this, like, he can win another race, no problem. He's got the skill, he's got the car for it.
So Stewart-Haas, we got Almirola, Harvick, Briscoe, and who's the other guy? Priest. Is that right? So do you think that Briscoe is Stewart-Haas's number one guy now, with this being Harvick's last season?
I'd say I like Harvick. I think he's gonna have a good final season, but I think Briscoe is the guy if they're gonna have one.
Well, he's their future.
Yeah.
And then it will be interesting as this season plays out to see, who they talk about bringing in for Harvick, to see if Almirola is going to continue on after this season. There might be a lot of changes coming for that team in the next year. Let's get to number 11. And this happens to be number 11 on both of our lists, Nick. Daniel Suarez.
Daniel Suarez. I would argue that Trackhouse team had the best growth season last season. They won 4 races,
I agree.
2 each. Chastain made it all the way, and Suarez made it, I think, to round of 8, or it might have been 12. But Suarez is a good driver, and with Chastain, if they both get out there, they can help each other. They can both succeed. I think Chastain's a little better, but Suarez has shown that he's got what it takes to win.
Okay, and I was just checking. Suarez made it to the round of 12. Like I asked you for Cindric, do you think that Suarez can take another step forward this season?
I hope so. It is a lot because, I mean, he won 2 races, so he'd at least have to win 2 more and get some top 5s. I think it's possible with what their team can achieve. I'd like to see it happen, but I wouldn't put all my faith in him to have a better season.
So this brings us to Nick, your number 12. And we were a little bit far apart on this guy. You've got Denny Hamlin coming in at 12th. 12th for Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, that probably is one of my most controversial takes on my list. I mean, there's a little bit of personal bias. I just don't like Denny Hamlin. I think this is going to be a worse season than him. He did have a pretty bad start last season and came around and started winning.
Yeah, he had a terrible start.
Very bad start. I don't think it's going to start as rough, but I don't think that Denny Hamlin is going to be as well versed in winning or getting these top 5s that he was last season. I think he is going to be a bust pick for a guy that's going to win races or go to the playoffs.
Well, it seemed like, as in the second half or the later part of last season, it seems like Joe Gibbs' team as a whole, maybe with one guy as an exception, just was not performing. I had Denny Hamlin ranked at number 6. and that's mostly just a legacy ranking for me. Um, I'm not crazy about the guy either. I don't see him as a real contender this season.
Mhm.
So you and I both could be proved wrong on that, or we could be right. We'll see. This gets us to the top 10. And Nick, we already talked about your number 10, which was Kevin Harvick. I have ranked at number 10, Kyle Busch. You've got him as number 4. And I think I know the reasons that we're apart on this one. You tell me if I'm right. I've got Kyle Busch ranked at number 10 because I feel like there's going to need to be a little bit of time for that team to gel. And like I said, I think it could go really well in the end, or it could go poorly. But I've got him at 10 now. You've got him at 4, and I feel like maybe that's because there's some potential there for sure.
I really think, like you said, that this could be the remember who I am season for Kyle Busch. Sure, there's time to gel, but I think he's going to come out really strong this year.
Nick, number 9 on your list of rankings is William Byron, and I've got him at number 8. So we both got Byron in the lower half of the top 10. Kind of like Joe Gibbs, it seemed like Hendrick was slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, Larson wasn't nearly what we thought he was going to be last season. Byron was really, really good in the early part of last season, but then he was kind of mediocre in the playoffs.
He just fell off. I agree he was really good. He got 2 early wins in the season, but once it got to playoffs, it was like, where was this guy from earlier? And he made it to the round of 8, but it wasn't anything super special.
We're not really considering a top contender at this time,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he could, we could see another step forward from William Byron. I think, and I'll be interested in watching all of the Hendrick drivers to see how they start this season off. Switching over to my number 9, and you and I are far apart on this one too. I've got him number 9, you've got him number 3, and I think it's going to be the same reasons as we were apart on Kyle Busch, because this guy is Tyler Reddick. I think he's going to need a little bit of time to gel. Your ranking of number 3 is based on there's a lot of potential there for sure.
It's basically the same kind of reason as Kyle Busch. I still think he's going to come out super strong. He had a great end to his last season. I think they're both going to be ready to go, ready to get some wins. That's why I got him like 5 spaces higher than you do.
Yeah. And there was a stretch, it was in the second half of last season, where it seemed like he was unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a couple of bad luck races, which derailed the very end of his season. What would you say is the over under of wins for Tyler Reddick this year?
Tyler Reddick, I'm going to say over 2.
Yeah,
Over
I
2
would
wins.
I would pick over on that too. All right, this brings us to Nick's number 8. He is my number 7, and that is Kyle Larson.
Mm-hmm.
You and
I
I
mean,
both agreed a year ago that he was the man to beat until somebody showed us otherwise. Well, they showed us
they
otherwise.
showed us otherwise. It it was all just, where was Kyle Larson from the season before, where he kept winning? It wasn't all like we thought it was going to be, and like we expected greatness. It wasn't that great. He made it to the playoffs still, and just he went out just like that. I hope it's a better season. I feel like it would be, but still, I don't want to put him that high yet.
Do you think that his his lack of success compared to his championship year, do you think it was because of the next gen car?
I think that might have been a big part of it, because he really was just unstoppable. Like,
Mhm.
oh, there's no way Kyle Larson's not going to win this championship, and then he wins it, and then we get to next season, he wins an early race, and then it's just lots of trouble, not great performances, still like a couple top tens and stuff, but it must have been the next gen car.
So this is going to take us to number 7 for Nick, defending champion Joey Logano. I've got
Mm-hmm.
Joey ranked as number 5. So neither one of us have him, shouldn't the champion be number 1 coming into the next season?
Yeah.
You talked
Ah,
about it a little bit earlier. I wouldn't call it luck, but I would say the circumstances were in his favor
I
for
I
him to
agree
get that
100%.
championship.
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't see it fit that we rank him in a top 4 championship contender position. Like he'll win a race probably, but uh, circumstances were very nice for that championship win. I don't think it's going to be as hot as a season this time.
well, and for a good part of last season, he wasn't doing great.
Mhm.
He peaked at the right time for sure. So we'll stay with Nick's list. You've got number 6, the driver Ryan Blaney, and I've got him as
Mhm.
number 4.
All right, I'm glad we both have him high. I'm not ready for top 4 yet, but he's a guy that while he didn't win, I mean, he won the All-Star race, but he didn't
Mhm.
win a true playoff contending race. He was always up there and he always had good performances in most races, I argue. He never had a slump couple weeks. He always was up there. And
Yeah.
so I see this season being better. I mean, all he's got to do is win a race and it's better, but
So Nick, I haven't really read much coming out of his camp this year, but if I was going to suggest a slogan for the 2023 season for Blaney, it would be finish, because
mm,
he was up there, he was in position, but he could never quite seem to finish. And I think that's what it's going to take for him to contend for a championship this year.
true. I definitely could see some wins in his future if he goes that slogan. Yeah, yeah, finish. Just finish the race. You're up there in top 5. Just go for it.
And while he did not win any points races last season, I'm going to say that I think he could win as many as 4 races this year.
I mean, four is a lot,
Yeah.
but I'd say more like 2.
Okay.
But
All right.
yeah, I do see the potential there.
So now, Nick, to your top 5, your 5th driver ranking coming into the season is Christopher Bell. And I'm not going to tell you yet where I have him ranked. But what are your thoughts on Christopher Bell?
I mean, I like Christopher Bell and his playoff just experience was crazy. Him winning the races that need to be won and making it all the way to a chance at being the champion. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was great. And he's shown what a skilled driver he is, especially in those do or die moments. He really came through. I put more faith in Reddick and Kyle Busch in my 3 and 4th over him. But
Yeah.
still, I do see a good season for Christopher Bell again.
Yes, I agree with that. And I'm going to hold my comments on him for just a moment.
Mm.
So let's jump over to my list and we'll count this all the way down. I've got Chase Elliott ranked number 3. You've got him at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chase Elliott.
Yeah. I mean, we can't say anything bad. He had a great season. The only major dud was just the final race where he
Mm-hmm.
had issues and his shot was gone. But other than that, he was a top contender for that championship. He was a killer in the playoffs, always near the top.
Mm-hmm.
I could see multiple races this year being won again by Chase Elliott.
It could be a season where he says, I've got one championship, I'm going to push hard, and he might run away with the second one. Or it might be something like we see a lot of success from him and he's got to scratch and claw his way a little bit. But both of us consider him one of the top guys right now. My guy, who I've got ranked number 2, is Ross Chastain. And um, Nick, I'll let you hold your comments on Ross
Mhm.
Chastain for a little bit. Of course, he made a big splash last season, and you called it really. You saw that potential,
Mhm.
and he was great
Yep.
for just about the whole season. A lot of people are going to remember him just for that move at Martinsville. But Nick, you and I were Ross Chastain fans long before that, weren't we?
Yeah, we sure were. And like you said, I called it. I saw great chances for him, and he took those chances. Like I said, Trackhouse, great performances. Chastain got those 2 wins, and then consistent top 5s. He was
Mhm.
always a top runner for most of the races. He was there at the end. I mean, he wasn't winning them all, but he always had a good show, good driving. And then championship race, he was there. He could see it. He got third. This
Yeah.
season, I got him number 1. I think he's going back, going to seal a deal and win it all.
So while he made a big splash, huge success last season, you're saying even more success to come.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and I could definitely see that happening. He's my number two. He's your number one. And then, of course, you had him as number five, but I've got Christopher Bell number one. I feel like as of now, I feel like he's going to be able to put all the pieces together this season. Who do you like in the Clash at the Coliseum?
I mean, continuing with my trend of new team, new year, I think Kyle Busch is going to show up and show that he's here for business and he's going to win. He got second place last season. I think he's not taking any prisoners. He's going for that win. Show him who's back, who's boss, and ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if you had not just made him your pick, he would have been mine. But last year in our season preview, I picked Joey Logano to win the Clash, and he did.
I don't
Now,
remember
of
that.
course, at that time, I did not predict that Joey Logano was going to be the champion, but I kind of feel like I got the responsibility to get the Clash winner right again. And since last season, the guy who I picked to win the Clash is the guy who ended up winning the championship this season, I'm going to pick Christopher Bell to win the Clash at the
Okay.
Coliseum. And that could be a portent of what is to come for him in 2023.
All right. I like that pick. I mean, I'd like to see it happen too. I don't think that Christopher Bell would win the Clash. I maybe top 10. I don't
Yeah.
know if this is his race, but I like that pick.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk about some more season preview types of things, like who we consider are going to be possible busts, who are the sleepers, who are the guys who are going to take a leap forward, who are our championship four predictions. But we're going to wait until our next episode to do that. That will be following the Clash and prior to Daytona. So this coming Sunday is the Clash at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and then 2 Sundays after that, February the 19th, will be the Daytona 500. And of course, we've got the duels and all the fanfare that leads up to that. So we're looking forward to all that. So thanks for watching, everybody, and enjoy the Clash when it comes around. We'll see you next time